Right now to a CNN exclusive. The White House is seeking an eye-popping billion-dollar settlement after freezing millions in federal funds to one of the nation's top public universities, UCLA. CNN correspondent Julia Vargas Jones is in Los Angeles for us. Julia, what's happening here?
Well, Fred, this is shaping up to be one of the most high-stakes confrontations between the Trump administration and a major university yet. And it is an entire order of magnitude bigger than anything that we've seen before. This proposed agreement, obtained exclusively by our colleague Betsy Klein, requires UCLA to pay the federal government not just that $1 billion over multiple installments, but also $172 million in claims for people impacted by violations of the Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It also requires a resolution monitor to oversee the school, as well as a new senior administrator that would be focused on the school's compliance with anti-discrimination laws. The proposal also prohibits overnight demonstrations and requires the school to revise its policies and procedures on protests. It also requires UCLA to discontinue race and ethnicity-based scholarships. And then there is a series of requirements that seem to be aimed at trans students, such as ensuring single-sex housing for women on campus, athletic recognition for female athletes in women's sports, and for the UCLA hospital and medical school to stop providing gender-affirming care. Now, in return, UCLA's funding would be restored, and the school would be eligible for future federal grants and other contracts. But at this point, school officials are saying that that number is just a non-starter, and that $1 billion payment would gut the university, which has already suffered more than $500 million that are frozen earlier this week. And now they're warning that that could have devastating effects, Fred, in their ability to conduct research in fields like medicine and technology, where it is a leader. Now, the governor of California just last night weighed in on this very issue. Take a listen.
Donald Trump today is trying to silence academic freedom. He's attacking one of the most important public institutions in the United States of America, one of the finest institutions for higher learning in the world, one of the great research institutions in this country, one of the reasons California is the tentpole of the U.S. economy, one of the reasons we have more scientists, engineers, more Nobel laureates than any other state in this nation. He has threatened us through extortion with $1 billion fine unless we do his bidding. So as long as I'm governor, I will stand tall and push back against that.
And of course, the context for all of that, Fred, is those pro-Palestinian protests that rocked universities across the country in 2024. And just last week, UCLA settled a lawsuit that accused the university of allowing Jewish students to be targeted during those protests. And this is part of a broader push by the administration to reshape all of higher education. Other multi-million-dollar deals were just reached in the past few days with Columbia and Brown University. But again, those much smaller amounts, Fred.
All right. And then, Julia, now what? I mean, since the consensus is from the governor, extortion, I mean, what kind of response might there be? Like a legal response?
Well, leaders from the university have said that they are willing to go back to that negotiating table, Fred, even though this number is stunning to them. You know, we also heard from the president of UC, President Milliken, saying that they offered to engage in good faith in dialogue with the department to protect the university and their critical research mission. But they're saying as of now, this would just completely devastate the ability of the UC schools, their great public university system that rely on the vital work, not just for their students, but as we said, for that research, medical and technology research. But Fred, these conversations will continue. That's what sources with knowledge of those conversations have told CNN. So we'll see if that number will eventually go down or not.
All right, I'm about to have that conversation about the potential impacts right now. Julia Vargas Jones, thanks so much. So let's bring in Dr. Robert Shackelford. He's a professor of medicine at UCLA. Doctor, so glad you could be with us. So, you know, what is your reaction to the Trump administration going after your university, asking for, you know, $1 billion and then freezing millions in funds that were already allocated?
Thanks for having me. It is devastating, and it is something that our research is, the research that I perform and that I work on is lung cancer, and we are dedicated to lung cancer patients, to all cancer patients, and this these levies at this magnitude is and will be absolutely devastating to our research community and to biomedical research.
Does it mean ending some of that research, lung cancer research that's already underway? Explain what an interruption it could potentially be.
Yes, great question. It is, our research has effectively been frozen, and this is biomedical research, cancer research that is impacting patients today, tomorrow, and in the near future. And if I could relate, a story just to give this context, I have a dear friend who is battling lung cancer, never smoked a day in her life, and is benefiting from a drug that was developed through academics. And eventually this drug will fail and she will need a second option. And that's precisely where my research comes in. We have made amazing breakthroughs that are transformative, and we are poised and aimed to identify new therapies and treatments for her as well as many patients, and that has all come to a screeching halt.
A source is telling CNN that UCLA officials do want to reach a deal to restore funding. In your view, what would that kind of deal making entail?
Much of the deal making, unfortunately, is above my pay grade, but what I can speak to about what I know is how critical and important this biomedical research in this community we have. What's been put forth would destroy that community, that ecosystem, if you will. And I really liken it to, an ecosystem such as a coral reef. It takes decades and decades to build. And once you destroy that, it does not come back. And we really need to preserve that biomedical ecosystem, because UCLA is a world leader. The US is a world leader, if not the world leader, in biomedical research, and we need to preserve that and treat it as a national treasure, if you will.
In order to make that kind of comeback, as it pertains to UCLA right now, if the leadership of the university says, okay, we will return or pay back a certain amount of money in this deal making with the Trump administration, do you have long-term worries about what this means in terms of the relationship between the government, the federal government, and public universities, or even private universities, since UCLA is not the first one to be targeted right now this year by this administration?
Absolutely. I think we all have these long-term concerns. Really, it really breaks down to 2 points. One, these funds support our laboratory research, and our laboratories work much like a small family business. We use the money to pay salaries, to support experiments. Those experiments lead to discoveries and to cures. It's a very straightforward metric. And the other point is that we have academic freedom to discover. And that's really what fuels this great biomedical research, is that freedom to discover. And I think we really need to protect that and respect that for all people, because we know that cancer impacts all of us. So this is really beyond the scope of just me and just UCLA. This really impacts all of us.
All right, Dr. David Shackelford, we'll leave it there for now. Leave it there. But thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.